And you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Andreana, and I will be leading us in 1 hour of movement practice today. If you've taken my classes before, then you already know that this will not be a super traditional yoga class. I usually draw from a lot of different sources. So we'll be stretching and getting into the body, but using things like yoga, qigong, dance, martial arts, and other alignment techniques. Um, if anyone has any technical difficulty or needs to say something, I suggest for those who are here live, just coming in and verbally saying something. I can't see the chat too well from where I am standing. So just let me know. I put a playlist in the chat that you're welcome to use. You're also welcome to practice in silence today. Either way, we will start the practice in silence. So go ahead and come to a comfortable standing position. Feet can be more or less any distance apart. If you would rather be in a chair today or sitting on the floor, that's also an option. And so I'd like to begin by just inviting you to feel the ground underneath your feet or the chair underneath your body. Feel this strong, stable base of support. Maybe feeling the points of contact where your feet are touching the floor or your body is touching the chair. And just breathing naturally. And as we stand, usually the weight is dropping through the body and into the feet. And I like to imagine that at the same time, the earth is rising up to meet me. And so, if like me, you're not on the first floor, this will take a little bit of imagination, but just really feeling like that grounded earth energy is available to us. And now, if that feels pretty established, let's bring the attention to our eyes. And just start to look around the space you're in. Look around the room, really being present right here, right now, noticing different objects. And as your eyes move, go ahead and let your head and neck move slowly to follow the eyes. So if my eyes drift to this corner, my head and neck will also turn. And so by orienting to the space that you're in, it can help bring us into the body. And it's also supposed to bring a sense of calm. It's something that can help with stress and anxiety. And see if, as you look around, if you can try to see the space with fresh eyes. So you've just finished uh, a big course of intense classes. And so maybe some fresh perspectives are available. Don't forget to look behind you, really noticing what's behind you. And even if you're not looking behind you, See if you can wake up the back body, making the whole surface of the back body alive, awake, and aware. And so we sometimes neglect the back of the body, but we've probably all had the experience at least once of knowing when someone was walking up behind us, even if we didn't hear or see them. And so if you're feeling pretty oriented in space, again, keeping the ground under the feet, that awareness, and the eyes alive, I'd now like you to bring your attention to your breath and try to listen for the breathing. You can exhale and inhale through the nose, or if you like, you can inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. You may have to play around a little bit with being able to hear or making the breath a little more audible. But don't change anything about the breath. Keep it natural. Keep it at your pace. And just noticing if when I said, let's listen to the breath, if anything in the body or the breathing changed in response to that. And if there was an impulse to tighten up a little bit, go ahead and soften those impulses. Just simply connecting with breath as an anchor, joining the inner and the outer worlds through this simple act that we do all day long and usually do not pay much attention to. And so as you breathe, if you feel like moving at all, I'm going to take a little walk. If you have any impulse to move as you breathe, feel free to go for it. Again, really feeling the ground under your feet, that support for all you're trying to do. Really being oriented in the space that you're in, present and aware and ready for anything. And also listening for the breath. And so this set of exercises is something you can do at any time that you need to calm down, or if you feel you've gotten into a fight or flight kind of feeling. These are also supposed to be very effective for that. So now let's bring the awareness into the palms of our hands. And so keeping some general awareness still of the other things that we've taken a look at, you can sort of look at the palms and also just your attention is there. And see if it changes how they feel at all when I bring my attention to these palm centers, right? They get a little bit warm. For some people, they might even tingle a little bit. And so our body is always alive with energy. And when we just bring attention to a body part, it can help make the energy flow. And this principle is true in a yoga class and in daily life. And so now, just with these warm palms, go ahead and we're just going to touch lightly, gently our own hands, maybe as though we've never touched hands before. And so I'm just giving them a really soft caress, almost like a very slow, like you're washing your hands, but really softly and with some gentle curiosity, maybe as far down as the wrist, and just feeling all the contours. There's no right or wrong way to do this. And so these hands, right, the palms of the hands, especially that we use to give loving touch to others. When I hug someone, the palm of my hand touches their heart at the back and gives some comfort. And so we can start to give that right now to ourselves. Again, feeling the ground and the support. Knowing where I am in the space, inviting fresh eyes, fresh perspectives. I feel here and now and in my body, and some healing and loving touch is available from me to myself always. Okay. So let's let go of that. And if you feel like playing some music today, you're welcome to use my playlist or any music that you have in mind. Let's just focus now on the head and neck. I'm just going to turn from side to side, passing through the center, but not pausing. Just waking up the body. And remembering to breathe, breathing naturally. And now I'm going to take my head and stretch it forward and let it release down and then draw it back. It's not a very big movement, but I'm going forward into the space, just releasing down. And then there is a sense, you can think of it as pulling back in, or you can think of it as another releasing down through the neck to draw the head into the center. And now taking a look at another way to do this movement. Imagine that you can use the whole body to draw the head back into center. And so thinking of something, maybe pulling, sometimes it helps me to actually make a pulling movement, to just imagine that I'm taking the effort out of the neck and the whole body. Something is flowing down the back body to draw the head back into center. And now placing the mind underneath the shoulder blades, these two bony places at the back, and drawing the shoulder blades onto the back body, lifting them up, and then fanning them out, spreading them out, letting the arms follow. We'll just do a few shoulder rolls. And though my arms are moving, they're really following the initiation and the impulse of the shoulder. And going in the other direction, opening up the front body, but still keeping the impulse and the mind underneath the shoulder blades, letting the rest of the body put almost no effort. So it takes a little effort, right? Just to stay standing up. But otherwise, we're going to try to put the least amount of effort today, except for right underneath these shoulder blades. So really try to let everything else relax, and you decide, what kind of effort you're going to put in and what will be working. And now letting that go. And I'm just going to take these two hands and think about this inner part, this inner curve here. And I'm going to place each hand at the base of my rib cage. And so if I draw the hands to the front, on me it's about here. It'll be a little different for each of us. And I'd like you to think of your body as being in these upper and lower quadrants. And so right now we're just going to move this upper part of the body. And so again, if maybe everyone could just, bring the hands together at the front body. They meet at this little point. If you were to then draw a line straight through that point towards the back of the body, towards the spine, you can also choose to do this exercise from that more internal point of awareness closer to the spine. And so really, I'm just going to bend and release and bend, opening up one side, closing the other, and trying to keep the movement in this upper body, imagining that I could initiate from this tinier point closer to the spine. And now let's take it in a circle. So I'm bending forward, side, and back, mostly trying to keep the lower body stationary. And let's go the other way. Remembering to breathe throughout. And coming back through center, now taking the mind inside this part of the body, bringing attention here. And we'll take a slightly bigger circle of the torso and see if by putting the mind, feeling that the mind is in this part of the body, that it can help the expansion to the side, the front, the side, and even the back body is expanding a little bit just from this very simple movement. And let's go the other way. Okay, and back through center. Now, if you feel comfortable, I'd like you to take the palms of your hands and just place them on the hip creases. Otherwise, you can just bring your awareness down into these hips. I'm guessing everyone has done a lot of sitting over the last 2 weeks, so just give them a little warmth and bring your awareness there. And then really feeling like we're initiating from the pelvis. Let's take some very simple hip circles. And so these hard-working hip creases are just opening a little bit as my body is towards the front and I get into the side. And then they just release and crease a little bit as my body goes back. And so everything we've done so far is something that you could do at any time during the day. If you are working or you don't have a lot of time, let's go in the other direction. Just connecting with the body and the feeling sense of the body. And seeing if we can tap into some ease, some feelings of ease and enjoyment of just being in the body. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let that go. And taking a slightly wider stance, my feet are parallel. And imagining that you could fold in half and just hinging forward. I'm going to bend my knees. If you want, you can keep them straight. depending on how ready you are to bend forward. And just coming to wherever you are, go ahead and release the head. Now, I just happen to have a bed here. And so if you have a stable piece of furniture and you cannot bend over, but just make sure it's something that won't, that can support your weight, won't fall over. You can still receive a lot of the benefits again by hinging and bending, and then putting some weight, for example, onto a piece of furniture. It'll be different, a little bit different, but just sort of feeling a bit of a stretch at the back of the legs. And if you're joining me all the way down with knees bent or straight, go ahead and just, if your hands are touching the floor, you can go ahead and just begin to make a figure 8 on the ground by touching the floor and letting the body sway to one side and the other. And if your if your hands are not all the way to the ground, it's still possible to just bring a little swaying motion with the upper back kind of rounded. And maybe take your figure 8 in the other direction if your hands are touching the floor. Feeling how the weight is shifting through the bottoms of the feet, and actually just from the weight of your own body, giving those feet a nice foot massage. And now join me here again, just in the center, and deepen your bend. And we'll just go ahead and roll up. And now right back into it one more time. We'll just hinge, coming forward, bending the knees if you need to, but this time, let's just go right into the roll up, deepening the knees and rolling up with the head coming up last. If you need, you may shake the legs out now or take a little walk around the room since we do a lot of standing. And then go ahead and join me back in standing in the center. Okay, so we're going to move into a slightly more intense part of the class. And I'm going to give different options of what you can do. So I'd like to think again about opening up the shoulders, in particular, the nest. I don't know, that some people call this the nest of the shoulder, like just this front part here. And so it's going to look very simple, but it can get kind of intense. So pay attention to your own body. It's okay if it's intense, but take breaks as you need to. So I'm just going to extend my arms to the side and really feel like you're extending from the heart center through the arms and out through the fingers. And I don't know about you, but it doesn't take me very long for this to get, pretty hard to do. And so just gauge for yourself, like, do you really need to take a break? Because you can take a break anytime by floating the arms down, resting, and then joining us again. And so one thing we're gonna do is layer in some meaning to this very simple movement and see if it changes something in how we feel. But first, let's remember to breathe. Feel that you're dropping the chest and the sternum, softening through here. And then imagine that maybe the love that you have, the compassion that you have in your heart, the things that drive you to want to change, want to help. This takes the form of a beautiful light, and it comes from the heart center through the hands, out through the fingers, and you can imagine that it goes infinitely out into space. And if you need to walk around or kind of sway from side to side as things are getting a little bit intense in the arms, that's an option. And we're also going to take a look at turning off or tuning down anything in the body that doesn't need to be working right now, right? So the arms and this kind of imagination of the light and this feeling of expansion through the chest, that all needs to be working. But if other parts of the body are firing up, right? They want to help because it's getting intense. And again, take a break anytime you need to. See if you can soften into that. See if you can soften the face any amount, the chest any amount. How soft can you make your heart when life is putting you in a tight situation or a difficult situation? You can practice right here. Softening the belly any amount, releasing the butt. Say thank you, body, for trying to help me through this difficult moment, but I've got this. Maybe the bottoms of the feet even feel soft. And now, if you've been with me here the whole time, or even if you haven't, let's go ahead and release, floating the arms to the side. Let's go ahead and just bring them back up again, just for a little while longer, refreshing this feeling of expansion from the heart center out through the hands and infinitely out into space. And now, like we're wringing out a wet towel, I'm going to focus on these thumbs, and I'm just going to turn the thumbs downward. And so my palms now are facing the back wall, and I'm going to again turn the thumbs, and my palms will start to open up to the ceiling and even towards the back space. And so let's take a few of those. Keeping the shoulders down. When things get tough, remember that light of love coming from your heart. And seeing if you can feel spacious even through this intensity. And now, just briefly, we'll alternate. So one thumb is going to turn this way towards the back, and the other thumb is going to turn the opposite way. So again, like wringing out, if you've ever wrung out a wet towel, it's kind of having the same effect on the arms and shoulders. And it's opening up the front of the shoulder. And breathing, and breathing, and breathing. Okay, let's give that a rest. Just floating the arms. Go ahead and shake out the arms, shake out the legs if you need to. Go ahead and take a little walk around your room. I'm just moving my clock to a place where I can see it. I'm now taking a wide stance. My feet are turned out a little bit. And once again, bringing the mind into these hip creases. And just by using the mind and awareness, feel that you're dropping the weight and something is sinking and sinking and sinking. And as you sink into the hip creases, this should open up the thighs and bend the knees. And so this might be your final position for this exercise. And if this is as low as is comfortable for you, go ahead and take a gentle sway from side to side. So it's not so much a bounce, but it is a weight shift. And you can see if your upper body might respond to the lower body by swaying just a little bit. Anytime you need to take a break, stand up, jiggle the legs, jiggle the hips, and then sink again and join us. Option one, remembering to breathe. As I go lower down, my feet will most likely have to widen. So option two, some people like to just kind of put some of the body weight onto these thighs. Hand position can be kind of wherever works for you. And again, just taking this side to side movement, weight shift. Or if you're feeling ready, you may put the backs of the elbows all the way down to the thighs. Now, if you're all the way down here, there can sometimes be a tendency to want to look down or sort of collapse the chest as things get intense. But try to keep this space open, looking up and breathing and just rocking side to side. Okay, let's all stand up and take a break. Just shake it out, jiggling it out, taking some deep breaths, and then going right back down. So again, sinking, feeling the sensation of sinking through the hips, opens up the knees, and at any level, however low you're going down, you're still getting the benefits of releasing through the hip creases and supporting healthy hips, letting gravity do the work. Now, as you try to let gravity do the work, sometimes if you're not used to this, you might feel some actual like clenching in the hip. And so really use your breath and your mind to play with unclenching and softening those things that don't need to work. And let's go ahead and take a twist. If you're all the way down, it will look something like this, looking over the back shoulder, going side to side. And if you're here, it'll look something like this, really using the eyes to look around the corner there. And if you're not that far down, I would place one hand on hip and maybe just one hand on thigh to stabilize. And I would just gradually kind of turn. I'm still getting a really nice twist here. And really using the eyes in the far corner to see if you can increase the twist. Again, taking a break at any time. And now let's go ahead and push up and release all of that. Let's go ahead and shake the legs, jiggle the hips, and maybe heel toeing, heel and toe to a more normal position. And from there, once again, you can shake it out, shake out the arms, and go ahead and give a little walk around the room. We do a lot of standing in this class, so it can be really nice to kind of take those walks. And now I'd like you to take something like a shortened warrior one position. And so I'll show you from the side first. So my front foot is just straight and my back foot is at a small angle. And then I'm just going to bend that front knee. Or as we've been doing, you can imagine initiating from the hips, sinking, sinking until the knee bends. And now if it's available to you, you can take the back heel up and join me in a bit more of a squat. And so if you don't feel totally steady, just be careful or touch the wall. And this is totally optional, but I'm gonna bring my knee to the floor and back up and bring my knee to the floor and back up. And maybe lifting the arms and keeping the upper body kind of open and spacious as the lower body works. And breathing. And then just planting that heel, lowering the arms. So I'm just going to turn to the other side and do the same thing. Front foot is facing forward, back foot is at a slight angle. If it's available, lifting the back heel, touching a wall if you need that support. Sinking into the hips, really sinking the mind, which bends the knee, and then engaging in this slightly more vigorous action of bringing the knee towards the floor, however many times, maybe lifting these arms up, breathing naturally. Okay, that's enough, and planting the heel and turning back towards center, taking a breath and just allowing what we've done so far to integrate throughout the body, energy going to wherever you need it to. And in fact, let's use a little bit of movement to encourage that integration. So on an inhale, I'm just going to imagine that I'm sort of gathering, like a gathering motion. And on an exhale, the warm palms close to the body. As I exhale, the knees bend. The energy in my body goes exactly where I need it to. Inhaling again. Again, the body and hands just suggesting to the energy in the body what to do. And now on an inhale, I imagine I'm calling in all the help and support that I need, all my guides on this beautiful path to come and be with me and help me. I'd like to now focus a little bit on the arms again. So taking a comfortable stance, it doesn't really matter so much how far apart the feet are. I'd like you to imagine now that you have a wall of glass or a wall of diamond in front of you, not too tight, give a little space, like maybe here. And it's completely invisible, right? You can't see it, but you know it's there. And the same, about the same distance behind you, this wall of glass or diamond. And we're just going to do arm swings. And so I'll show you from the side just approximately, what the arm is doing. But instead of just kind of, this is relatively easy, right? Just moving the arm. Instead of just doing that, I'm really going to think about the stretch and the extension. So almost like I'm reaching for something. And I want to try to stay in between these two walls. And so let's start by taking it slow and really feeling kind of the extension, right? From the heart through the arm and even down, right? Can be an extension. So each moment of the circle is a stretch and it's really alive. And, my shoulders always want to raise up when I go up. So try to keep them down in a relaxed way. And now I'm going to just point. So sometimes when we point towards something, it gives a feeling of even greater extension, like an easy extension, that there's a longer line. And if it's comfortable, without so much using the head, but you can use the eyes to follow the path of the hand and finger. If you feel like this is going to make you dizzy or something like that, then you don't have to do it. And let's just go the other way. And so we've got this super simple movement, relatively, right? It's not complicated to learn it and do it. So let's layer in some inner practice and meaning. There's a lot of different things you could think about while you're doing this movement. I sometimes like to imagine that I'm pointing to all the places that I'll go when I've reached all my goals, when I've really transformed and when I'm someone who can really help people, or you could even picture the faces, some of the people that you like to help, you would like to help, you, you, I'm going to help you, and that planet, this planet over there. Okay, let's just go the other way. Again, really extending, keeping in between these two panes of invisible wall. And right away, maybe going to pointing the finger. And maybe right now we're not feeling like the maximum love and compassion that we've ever felt, but we can certainly remember the last time we felt that way and allow that memory to maybe bring up a feeling and allow that feeling state to inform the quality of your movement and making the movement meaningful. It's also really fun to imagine when we reach the goals of this practice. What will I look like? What will it feel like? What kind of body will I have? It's supposed to be that we will then be limitless in our capacities. Let's go the other way. And so, even in our daily lives, right, we could pick a movement or two and turn them into a powerful seed planting practice. No one has to know, right? Someone might think you're just walking to the corner store. Okay. Now let's take that a little faster. Both directions, just a few times. And both directions on both sides. And now we'll try the same thing to the back. So I'm going to keep my lower body mostly oriented to the front. But as I turn to swing my arm, of course, the body has to turn with me, but just providing a little bit of resistance, like, oh, I want to stay to the front, starts to get some nice stretch along these diagonal lines. And so again, the back is a little bit harder to keep in between the wall, to not touch the wall of diamond, but just to the best of your ability, and just keep going with that. And maybe the other direction, bringing in the pointing, really just to help this sense of extending out and past the arm and past the hand. And so we're getting a nice twist as well. And let's try the other side. Once again, lower body mostly trying to stay forward, but of course it has to turn a bit. And I'll just turn to the back in case that's useful. Remembering to breathe and maybe taking the pointing outward, feeling this outward extension. And now just going the other direction. So if that were to just go a little faster, I'm going to take the front and the back, and it's going to be a little more efficient and not extending quite as much. But you can take some swings. I like to place the palm of the other hand just on the opposite thigh. Otherwise, it tends to flap around as I get a little momentum. And so really my torso is moving. And then just try the other side, right? So without thinking about it too much, about the directions. Otherwise, it's easy to get a little stuck. Swinging, just circles, right? So I've got a circle here, I turn to the back, I've got a circle there. And so it's the same thing, but a little more dynamic. And you can go as slow or as fast as you want to. When you get some momentum going, you really don't have to do much with the arm. All right. Or keeping it slow as you like. Okay, let's go ahead and leave that, shaking the arms out, shaking the legs out, and once again, taking the small walk around the room. And now coming back to stand and taking a little bounce. My heels are actually on the ground, but if you wanted to, you could lift them for a more vigorous bounce, depending on what you're ready for. You could even kind of bend and straighten the legs if you'd rather try to get a vibration kind of going. This can be hard to do if you've never done it before. I'm just bending and straightening the legs and seeing if you can get that vibration to go through the whole body, or just simply keeping the bounce, resting and stopping if you need to. Remembering that any pause in the practice is also part of the practice, even if the body is still. Keeping the interior of the body and the awareness very alive, the energy very alive. So even if I'm paused, just feeling the energy flowing, being very present. And one last time, maybe making, if you want to, some big exhales or some noise. Okay. Coming back into the hands once again, just briefly. Let's do an out movement and an in movement. But I'm really thinking about initiating from the palms and not the fingers. So like these are two suction cups, drawing something in and then sending something out. And so almost all of us are probably typing too much or using our hands in other repetitive ways. And if you want, you can speed it up. As I speed up, it's much harder to really initiate from the palm, but you can try as though you're drawing something in and sending something out. And then pressing through the heel of the hand as though you're pushing or pressing something. And then the international come here, or I'm too hot, just kind of taking the opposite direction, right? With the hands and the wrists. Come here, come here, come here. And then just coming back to rest in the center. Now I'm just going to shift my weight, pouring the weight into one leg in preparation to stand on it and maybe take the other foot off. So we can kind of, if balance is hard for you, you can sort of just play with pouring the weight down this leg and into this foot. If this hip comes out, just draw it back in. And if it's comfortable, you can maybe take this other foot off the ground. I have a wall right here, so if you have a wall and you need a wall, please feel free to use it. And so now pouring the weight in, I'm going to focus on this inner thigh and rotate the inner thigh in, turns the leg in, and then imagine that I'm spiraling and opening the inner thigh out, and it rotates out. So see, my foot is still on the floor, and that's very much an option. Or you can get more into something that looks like this, like a leg circle. But again, really feeling like we could initiate from this inner thigh. Because I'm turning in, the leg turns. Because I'm turning out, the leg turns out, or it could even be up here, or with foot still on the floor. Let's go the other way, turning out and turning in, or maybe up here. If you don't need the wall, of course, you can bring both hands out to the side. And if you're up here as I'm coming down, I'm sweeping the floor just a bit as I come down. And then pouring the weight into the other side. We'll just do the same thing. Again, different options, foot on the ground, turning in and turning out. As it gets bigger and more vigorous, it may become more of a challenge. Go the other direction to the balance. As always, holding on to a wall or a very stable piece of furniture. Okay, so let's go ahead and shake that out. Now, as we take our walk around the room this time, I'd like you to just hit the back of your calves here. So as I take a step, hitting the back of my calf, or as I take a step, I'm hitting the inside and my knees are bent. And you can hit it pretty hard or pretty soft, depending on what you need. All right. And just coming to stand, feeling that all that we've done so far has warmed the body and awakened ourselves to just being more in the body and developing some sense of ease, practicing layering in some meaning to what we're doing. And now let's go ahead and just move the feet. We were just walking, so you can walk if you want to, or you can move the feet, just sort of keeping the awareness on the feet and just bringing in these last few minutes of class, perhaps feeling the weight shift and letting the body kind of move however it wants to move right now, but mostly focused on the feet still. And it can be fast, it can be super slow. And now just bringing in the arms a little bit. So feet and body are still moving, but now I'm just seeing what my arms feel like doing, mostly focused on the arms. Now when my arm moves, right, if it goes back, that's gonna twist and turn my body. So kind of letting the eyes and the body now follow the impulse of the arms. And you can use, two different directions or the same direction. And so my feet are still moving, but I'm mostly thinking about the arms now. And now imagining that I have reached the goals of my practice, of all this hard work. And trying to move from that feeling. And so they say when we get to this point, we'll be able to dance from planet to planet, helping people, having the capacity to help. And so it makes sense to me that we might practice what that might look like, what that might feel like. You can close your eyes if it's safe to do so, just using the imagination. It can be quite slow. It can be still on the outside. It can be, fast. It can be turning. What does your body feel like? What does your breath feel like? What does your heart feel like? If you've already reached your goals. And now continuing to move or joining me slowly, slowing down into stillness. Thank you so much for joining me today for this class. It's really been a joy and a pleasure. Please see if you can dance throughout your day, planting the most powerful seeds of body and mind through the joy and pleasure of movement. My name is Andreana, and if you have any questions, I'll stick around for a minute and I'll put my email address in the chat if you have any questions for me later on about this practice or anything else.
Thank you so much, Andreana. What a beautiful class.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for amazing class, Adriana. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I can't see everyone too well, but anyway, I really appreciate it.
Hi, thank you.
There you are. Oh,
Great.
Hi, Joel. Hi.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah, that was really good.
For me too. I needed that. I just do what I need, and
Yeah.
I figure everyone else some other people might need it too.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Take care out there.
Yeah, take care.
You too, Andreana. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, Berta, are you in charge of the call, the video? I can't hear you though.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I guess so. If there's not any more questions, then I guess I'll I'll finish the call.
Yeah, and thank you to all the translators, and hello, and thank you to anyone watching later on.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a great day.
Have a great day. Okay, bye.
See you next time. Bye.